New Yorker, ladies and gentlemen, a man who's in 2 Hall of Fames for broadcasting and speaking into microphones, a stud, Mike Greenberg.
Yay!
Greeny, how you doing, man?
Guys, couple of quick thoughts. First off, just watching that racing there, if Scotty Scheffler had done any of that, he'd been in prison for the rest of his life. That was the first thought that came to my mind.
True.
The second is thank you for having me on, because I have to say, for the last several months, you know that my wife, Stacy, watches you guys every single day.
Hi, Stacy.
And
we
she
appreciate
follows
you.
everything you say on the social. And I can't count for you the number of times she has said to me in the last few months, how come you're never on that show anymore?
Yeah, that's what we're wondering.
Good question.
It's not for lack of being asked. So I said, well, the Jet season ended.
Oh,
and Rodgers hasn't been in the news. So, maybe they're just they've lost interest in me. So I feel very happy to be back on the show.
You need to know that was not the case at all. It was that we assumed, because this is us being dumb, I guess. I don't like asking humans to come on, especially if they have a lot of jobs. I don't enjoy doing that. So we just assumed that you were probably in the middle. Wasn't there a radio? Didn't you have
Greeny.
Don't you have Greeny? Don't you have Greeny at the same time?
I do. I just got off the radio a little while ago, but here I am always available for you guys. Anyway, forget about all of that.
Noted. All right, so Greeny will be on here weekly, probably a couple times a week, to heighten the professionalism of everything. Speaking of Greeny, I don't know if you got a chance to see it. This weekend, there was a situation, a Game 7, where, just a team from little old Indianapolis went into the garden and did some gardening, pal. Pacers, Game 7, the Mecca. You know what we did? You see that? In the garden, whacking weeds, dominating. That's what the Knicks from Indianapolis went out there and did, to the chagrin of everybody in sports media, seemingly. Should I feel as bitter against everybody that has a microphone about the way they talked about the Pacers' chances in this series? And how do you feel as a Knicks fan with a team that had, great year, fantastic year?
For starters, I was the one. I said all last week that I thought Friday night was the series. I thought with the turnaround from Game 6 to Game 7, with the Knicks as short in their rotation as they were, I didn't see any conceivable chance that they were going to be able to turn around with travel this time and win a Game 7, regardless of where it was played. I think I said last week, I don't care if that game is played at the Garden or on the Moon, I don't see the Knicks winning Game 7. Okay. To me, Friday night was the game. And I think Rick Carlisle is going to go to the Hall of Fame for 2 reasons, or showed you 2 things in this series. He knows how to push the right buttons. At the end of the day, all coaches can make good adjustments and bad adjustments, and good moves and bad moves. And the move to put Nesmith on Jalen Brunson in Game 3 was one that I almost thought he waited a game longer than he should have. All coaches do that. But I think he pushed 2 excellent buttons during this series. I think the button he pushed at the end of Game 2 with his players and with the fans in Indiana, you obviously were there. We all saw you sitting courtside. Playing the small market card the way he did, playing the us against the world card, I thought that was really smart. And then the second piece of it that I think he did really well as far as that's concerned is the way he challenged his guys after Game 5. The difference in Game 5 was not any adjustment. It wasn't anything that Tibbs did. People are quick to try and give him credit. And I'm not suggesting he didn't do anything. In Game 5, the Knicks played like they needed it, and the Pacers didn't. The Pacers played like the moment was too big for them. They looked jittery in the Garden. All this gardening that you were doing looked like it was actually getting to them. And Carlisle basically said, and you guys probably have the quote, Carlisle said, guys, you just got your ass handed to you. Get a rebound, dive on the floor, play like you're where you're supposed to be. And I thought his team really responded to that. They came out on Friday exactly the way they needed to. They looked like the desperate team in a game that I thought the Knicks should have been desperate to win. And after Game 6, there was no question in my mind the Pacers are going to win yesterday.
They're kind of like America's team too, able to take tough coaching. They came together.
United.
Added a star, Pascal Siakam. Siakam, obviously, you added him mid-season. Yep. No problem at all. Miles Turner being able to adjust when Tyrese Halliburton comes in and becomes the star, signs a massive 5-year deal. TJ McConnell just doing his role. Guy with sweet fade.
Ben Shepherd.
Dog. Ben Shepherd is a dog.
Weapon.
And then Rick Carlisle, you look at a guy, you're like, that guy looks like Jim Carrey. What else can he do? Oh, head coach, 22 years in the NBA. He's got a team in Indiana. Completely relevant again. Yeah. And breaking the hearts of the big city. Greeny, you know it. The bias coverage was something that, we were sick of, Greeny. We were sick of it out here. You know what I mean? Sick of it.
I'm not surprised. We heard a lot of that last year, too, when the Nuggets were playing the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. There was a lot, and then we wound up in Denver. So we traveled, and by we, I mean I was on Countdown at that time. So Stephen A., Michael Wilbon, Jalen, and me were in Denver for the NBA Finals. And believe me, I heard it. I heard from all of the Denver fans, all you guys talked about was the Lakers, all you talked about was LeBron, all you talked about was the Lakers, all you talked about was LeBron. And that's just the reality of the situation. The media capital of the world is New York. We are the networks are overrun and lousy with New York-based fans. Stephen A. Smith obviously being at the top of that list and by far the most prominent person that we have. So that was the way it was going to be. I actually think it worked to the benefit, to the point I made about the Game 2 stuff. I think it worked to the benefit of the Pacers. I think Carlisle played that really, really well. He basically said, no one thinks we have a chance. No one wants us here. It's just us against the world. And I think, didn't Halliburton say something like that yesterday in the postgame, right? He said, no one gave us a chance, and Miles Turner co-signed that. So, look, those things can work in either direction. And I think it wound up working in the Pacers' favor over the course of the series.
I agree. Incredible motivation. It sounds like Tyrese Halliburton is a guy, though, that does pick up, things to be pissed off about. And Rick Carlisle continuing, to push the right buttons is a beautiful story here. Now, on the other side, with your guys' coach, go ahead, Con Man.
Yeah, Greeny, obviously there's been a lot of fodder around Tibbs just kind of running this team into the ground. Is that something
Is everything okay over there?
Did he run you into the ground too there?
Yeah, you okay?
No, I think I always have to have something I'm fidgety in my fingers, and I just dropped the cap to this bottle. Sorry about that.
I don't want to interrupt. Hold on, though, because I have a similar thing. Those spinners, when they were out, did you use them? Those fidget spinners?
No, I should have, but no, I know what you're talking about, but I think those came after my time. Those probably came out when you were little and I was already like in my 30s.
I think you were in your second Hall of Fame already, but it came and went pretty quickly.
It did.
It was a good run. I'm fidgety as well, obviously. I mean, I stand for 3 hours. But nonetheless, Coach Tibbs, did he have his team standing too long? Is that so?
Yes, I think we don't live in a world where both things can be true is a popular answer to questions, but both things can be true. Tom Thibodeau can have done an incredible job, took this team farther than perhaps any other coach would have, and deserved consideration for Coach of the Year this year. I actually voted him third on my ballot for Coach of the Year. All that is 100% true, and the players love him. All of that is true, but it is also true that the incredibly tight rotation that he plays has historically caught up to his teams in the playoffs. Now, you can take each individual injury they had this year, and you probably could explain almost all of them away. So the Julius Randle thing, he took a charge and busted up his shoulder. Bogdanovich, got stepped on, and that was the end of his foot. Mitchell Robinson got yanked down on a dirty play by Joel Embiid, and that was the end of him. The only real injury that I think was caused by the strain might have been the Anunoby injury in Game 2, where he just played all these 46 minutes. You would know better than I would what it's like to run like that and then have your hamstring blow out. I mean, I've never run that far. Literally, if you added up all the running I've done in my entire life, I haven't run as far as those guys were running in each individual game. And then you see a guy like Alec Burks come off the bench. I forgot Alec Burks was on the team, to be completely honest with you. And then he comes in and he's playing well. You're telling me he couldn't have gotten some minutes. So there is room for criticism of Thibodeau, without question here. But is that the reason they lost? No, the reason they lost is sports are, as often as anything else, they're about who stays healthy. Right? I mean, that's as significant as anything. The Knicks were an incredibly deep team this year, just like the Pacers are now. They just wound up being depleted, partially because of the coach, perhaps, but more because sometimes the luck just goes against you.
Hey, it was a great year for the Knicks.
Truly.
Well, so this is actually something that I wanted to say.
I loved it.
So, and I'm going to do this on the TV show tomorrow.
Okay.
So Jalen Brunson, and it was the right answer, right? Jalen Brunson was asked afterwards, do you consider this season to be a success? And he said, no, we didn't go to the finals. We didn't get close. I don't consider that a success. And that's how I want the star of my team talking. That's how you want your leader talking. That's the tone you want to set for the entire organization. This, we're not satisfied. We're all that kind of, I get all of that. It's the right thing to say. But it also isn't true, okay? So not every team that loses is a failure. The Denver Nuggets season is a failure, without question. The Indiana Pacers season is a screaming success if they get swept in the next round, which, by the way, I don't think they're going to do.
Wow.
But if they got swept in the next round, their season is still by no means a failure. Are you kidding me?
We're starting the Halliburton
young
era.
group?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, this is not a failure. And the same for the Knicks. The Knicks season is an enormous success. It's a disappointing ending. They would have liked it to go farther. But not all seasons that don't end in championships are failures. And the Knicks season certainly is not one.
Amen. And I'm not a big everybody deserves to win, guy. But I think you're 100% right. That was a good speech, Ray. You should do that on TV tomorrow.
Yeah.
You should do that on TV tomorrow.
Actually, I'm going to do my list of the 5. How about this? I'm giving it away. Yeah. This is tomorrow's
Top 5.
There we go.
Jeez. Top 5 teams whose season were a success, regardless of how they end.
Lions.
And number 1 is the Pacers. I'm putting the Pacers at number 1. I think regardless of what happens from this point forward, their season is an enormous success. Regardless of what happens from this point.
Are you doing just basketball? Or are you doing all sports?
Yeah, just basketball. No, just the 5 teams in the NBA right now.
Maybe broaden that thing. Because Lions, think about Lions fans last year.
Well, I mean, that was a good topic then. See, the difference with the Lions was they don't put you in halls of fame for bringing things up 5 months later.
No, of course not.
But here's what I'll say, McAfee, that the Lions, it was a great story until they blew it. Until the Lions had that game absolutely won in the second half and handed it back. That was what really got to me.
Such a Lions.
Good point.
You Lions fans blew it, dude.
Greatest season of our lives. That was a W all day. It's okay that last game didn't end how we wanted it.
And then they gave money to everybody.
Yes.
Everybody on the team somehow. We're excited to watch it all unfold. But let's talk a little football here as we're running up on a hard out. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, speaking of about 100 days out from the football season started, your Jets, obviously we know what happened the first game. But now OTAs are starting. How do you feel about this all season for your Jets?
Terrified. There has never been in the history of sports a larger chasm between the realistic possible finishes for any team I can think of. If you told me right now the Jets are going to be great and they're going to be playing Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, that actually wouldn't be that surprising. If you told me the Jets are going to fire their coach by Halloween, I actually don't think that would be that surprising. I think the possibilities are that vast. I think if this team stays generally healthy, if Aaron stays healthy, and if some of these guys that they brought in stay healthy, the Jets have as much talent. I'll say this as loudly as I can. The Jets have as much talent as any team in the entire NFL. Okay. There are just a million question marks. First and foremost with the coaching, secondly with the injuries. If those two things both come back, yes, it would not stun me if I'm on this show talking about the Jets making a Super Bowl run this coming year.
Yeah, we will be sending invitations now that we know that you'll stop your radio show somehow to do this particular show. We're lucky for it. We can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us, pal.
Well, guys, you know, what can I tell you? It is a pleasure. My wife will be happy now. Go ahead, garden something. Give me a little something there. Yeah, the Knicks had a good run. But it's all over.